Joining us now is Congressman Michael Cloud, a Republican serving the 27th District of Texas. Congressman, over the past couple of weeks, we've seen a little bit more accountability being pushed towards China. That's what a lot of people are saying initially they were not honest with the information coming out of the country, and they relayed that information to other parts of the world, which delayed the global response. Do you think that it's right to put the blame on China during this time?
Well, they certainly have some guilt on their hands. They at best case withheld information that could have saved so many lives and saved so much economic disaster. So it's right that we're talking about this. Really for decades they've taken advantage of the goodwill that we've shown their country through so many things, whether it's stealing our trade secrets, whether it's manipulating currency. Through so many ways they've just been not a friend to our country in spite of our best intentions toward them.
I think you're right to say this because amid this pandemic, we kind of see a lot of the other issues that we've talked about in the past be brought into this issue. We talk about the idea that a lot of our medical supplies and equipment were being manufactured overseas. We talk about the idea that the Chinese government was suppressing dissenters, which led to a disadvantage to the United States. We talk about Huawei, all the products that are coming out of China that are really just adversarial to the United States. So when it comes to these issues, do you think that we will see more accountability or at least a little bit more action whether it comes to Huawei or 5G networks, whatever it may be coming out of China?
Yeah, I think so. If nothing else, that this has really been the last straw for their case in being a global leader in manufacturing and being such a key part of so many supply chains. We have got to bring some of this stuff home, at least to friendly countries where we can, and anything we can do to incentivize that. They've been a threat on the technological front. So many of the things that they have done to integrate into our technology and into our business infrastructure, and they have not been our friend.
And one of your colleagues, Congressman Jim Banks, proposed a resolution that would require every company that's coming out of China or Russia, I believe also he said, to let Americans know that the app that they're using, for example, such as TikTok, a Chinese-owned company, is owned by a Chinese-owned company, just so the user knows that. Do you think that's the route to go moving forward?
Well, if you go to Walmart and purchase a toy, it's going to say made in China on it, right? And so certainly the technology that's in our hands is much more sensitive than many of the products we buy at our local store that comes from China. And so it's very right and just that we begin to take this threat seriously.
And some of the conversations that we have are a little bit more nuanced. The idea that, for example, the TikTok app that I was just talking about, it's mostly used among teens at the very moment. Younger people, generally, it's more so like dancing videos. It's a little bit more lighthearted. But it's the idea that you could take the data from where those people are posting those videos and use it in an adversarial way if one so desired. But then there's other actions that are a little bit more direct, such as Chinese disinformation campaigns. Do you think that's an issue that we need to start addressing a little bit more too, acknowledging the fact that this has been going on for years, not just right now?
Well, exactly. And much of the technology, too, even on our phones, it's not just when you use it, but it scans your whole phone for what you do sometimes. A lot of the technology can do that. And so also dealing with the misinformation, it's hard to have a fruitful relationship with a country that continues to lie, and especially when they do so in a way that has cost lives and has had such a economic toll that we'll be recovering from for years globally.
And to that point, too, you could look at a number of different studies. And if China was just a little bit more straightforward with human-to-human transmission, for example, even a week prior, it would be the difference of thousands of lives. The United States would have been able to act earlier. They would have been able to start testing earlier. It just would have changed the complete scenario of what you're talking about. So I think you're exactly right to say that their decisions cost lives. And acknowledging that, we were in a trade war with China right before this took place. There was a phase 1 agreement. It looked like the two sides were at least having amicable types of relationships. Does that change once we're past this pandemic?
Well, one thing we really have to realize is that we talked about our nation now being in a war footing, but it's a two-front war. We have the health concerns that are very real dealing with the virus, but we're in a global economic war right now, and China is manipulating this situation every way they can to take advantage, every economic situation, and with them ramping up our economy. We've talked about flattening the curve, but we have a curve too that we've got to look at, that every day, every week that we keep things closed, the economic recovery curve gets steeper and longer. And so we've got to do everything we can to get people back to work in a responsible manner. But it's good to see that the president's taking that priority and moving it forward.
And I think a lot of people are recognizing now, too, that the United States has essentially been playing softball while China's been playing hardball. I mean, everything that they do, from pegging their
Yes.
currency to ours to undermining our economies, it's a direct threat to the United States. And I think Americans are just now waking up to that idea. And in my opinion, it is a good thing because it's been to the detriment of the middle-class worker for decades now at this point, too. So I think it's a good realization,
Yes.
perhaps a silver lining in this otherwise tragedy that we're currently facing. But Representative Cloud, I really appreciate you coming on and breaking down the relationship with the U.S. and China right now. I think it's very important. Thank you.